This morning, Mom, Dad, and myself are starting out picking pickles and cucumbers. Usually we like to pick pickles and cucumbers every 2 to 3 days max. And just because we had the long weekend with Labor Day and the wedding, it's going on like 4, maybe 5 days now. And so there's really no more than what there usually is, but what's here is just now bigger than what we would like to see it. And so the cucumbers are actually perfect size. Like, that's really nice. There's some big ones, but majority are perfect. Pickles though, we like to see a little bit smaller. This is what we're kind of going for between this and I would say this. Like, these are getting pretty big, but that's okay, not that big of a deal. And so we're just going out, actually this row here, Dad's going out the cucumbers. You can see him out there. And then after that, we're gonna move on to zucchini, Lebanese squash, and well, yellow zucchini as well. No matter how good you take care of a patch of pickles, they have their lifespan. We've been picking off these now for weeks and weeks, getting a load of pickles. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of baskets. I don't really know how many, but every time we pick, it's usually between 15 and 20 baskets. And that's every 2 days, besides when we had that drought. Then it was kind of slower picking. And so anyway, you can just see how like the leaves are starting to die down. You know, they're just kind of tired and they're not producing quite as much as they were in the beginning. But there's still some really nice pickles here. So we're gonna keep going through them until there's really nothing left to pick. But that's why we also grow a second patch up on top of the hill that should be ready, I would say, within the next week here. And then we'll have nice, beautiful pickles again. And that's when we'll kind of start phasing this patch out. Pickles and cukes are done. Now we're working on zucchini. That's one of the first yellow ones I just got. We already got Lebanese. We only got like a couple of them. This patch is about finished, as you can see, but there's still a couple there, making it worth going through. Dad's loading the cucumbers on right now. There's actually quite a few zucchini. We start out here with the yellow, and then we'll go out there like 30 yards, 100 foot, and then start green.
I don't see any blossoms on these. Bring another box. I got your knife. Never mind, long legs just stepped right over.
After we finished up zucchini, we came out to the cantaloupe and watermelon and tried to get a bit of each.
So we just finished up. This is a mixed bin of red seedless and yellow seedless, and a full bin of cantaloupe. So we just finished up for the day. It's going on 6 o'clock. Here's the bin of cantaloupes that we got. This is from last picking, which is gonna go tomorrow. That's what we brought back from market the previous time. So both these bins will go. This is everything we picked today. Just a mixture of everything. Today is Wednesday, and we're gonna be packing a load for the Scranton Farmers Market.
Our truck is 26 foot long with a pallet jack on it, so we put everything on pallets, load it with the skid loader, and then we can maneuver around anywhere we need to.
One eggplant, one red bell, one yellow bell, one Italiano, and one Cubano, one of each. These look like they're probably just washed. They're huge, but they're not. This is what the cooler looks like now after we're finished loading. Just a little bit of each thing now. Everything else is on the truck besides these baskets, which will go on as soon as we're done picking corn. We pick corn fresh every morning just because we want it to have the best flavor possible. We have a very good reputation for our sweet corn and really everything else. Cabbage, tomatoes, peppers, cantaloupe, watermelon, broccoli, onions, potatoes. I don't know if I said peppers, and a lot of other stuff I'm not even mentioning. And then this is our 2 spaces for the corn. So we got Dad ready and sent off to the Scranton Farmers Market, and then I drove out to our farm market right here next to our house and just dropped some corn and watermelon off. We'll take pickles, zucchini, all that stuff out a little bit later. And I come out here now to our pumpkin field, which this field is located at the Good Time Golf Course, which is one property over from our farm market. I want to start getting some pumpkins today because it's just getting to be that time of the year. People are starting to ask for spaghetti squash, butternut, acorn, everything like that. The butternut are usually a little bit later than like the spaghetti. You can see how that has a nice yellow cast to it. That's basically ready to be picked, but there is some green ones yet. You can see how all the vines are still pretty green. There's not really anything falling down, meaning that they're still growing and still maturing. So I would say we'll probably leave these go for another week or so, maybe even 2, but I'm hoping we can get into some pumpkins. Right here is a beautiful pumpkin, but again, not quite ready. This guy right here looks perfect though. Yeah, that's what we're looking for right there. Huge pumpkin, beautiful, little bit of green on it, but actually once that gets picked, that'll ripen up and get nice and orange. I don't plan on picking, you know, 15, 20 bins, but I would like to pick maybe 5 or 6. Just get some on the front porch for our farm market and have a bin to take up to Scranton. It's crazy how fast time goes. Seems like we were just in the greenhouses not too long ago. Then we were out in the fields planting, and now we're already in the pumpkin season. We still have all of our peppers. Everything basically that we started the season with is still growing. It looks like Dad might have grown a different white pumpkin variety this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but these are bigger than what they have been before. Maybe they just had rain at the right time, because man, are they perfect. These are one thing you want to get off early, because when the sun starts to hit them, it'll actually turn them yellow. Right now they're snow white. I also don't want to pick them when they're wet and they're still dewy. We'll come out here probably after lunch sometime and pick, if we decide to actually pick some pumpkins. I'm not seeing many that are all orange. It's still kind of early yet for our pumpkin patch. We didn't get them in quite as early as we would have liked to. And so they're gonna be a week or so yet. But if we could scrounge around and get a couple, that would be nice. And then right here's the sugar pumpkins. They're the little tiny ones. Even they're not dark orange yet. They're like a lighter orange. They'll get darker as they mature. The pumpkins are gorgeous, huge. This one is still almost completely green. Man, when I'm looking at this field, it looks huge. I don't exactly remember how many acres it is, but it's a mixture of sugar pumpkins, big pumpkins, spaghetti squash, acorn, butternut, stackers, blue Hubbard, orange Hubbard, but still it looks like a ton. I think last year we were talking about cutting back for this year, just because every year it seems like we have a little bit too many, and then we end up hauling out to Buffalo Valley, which is an auction that other farmers can come to and buy for wholesale. That way they can take it to their farm markets and then sell it. But there's usually just so many pumpkins out there, the whole market's flooded and you get almost nothing for it. So we didn't want to do that no more. We just decided we're gonna grow what we can sell at our farm markets, and that's it. Second day for the Hoka binary or Bion, I don't know what the heck. Hoka starts with a B something. I like them a lot so far. Still kind of feel like I'm breaking them in. I don't know if you should even really have to break in a shoe. Sammy has the same pair. She absolutely loves them. And she thinks that they helped her back and legs out a ton. And I was kind of having the same problem. So I'm hoping, you know, this helps me out as well. I won't say as of right now they're the most comfortable shoe in the world. I could definitely wear it all day, but by the end of the day, you know, I'm ready to get them off. I'm hoping by day 3, I'm excited to put them on, but we'll see how that is when I get there. If you remember me showing you my Pap's garden, it's kind of on its way downhill now. Still doing half decent, but this is basically an organic garden. He never sprays it, never anything like that. You can see he's got a nice bell pepper on there. He picked a lot of the bananas off, a ton of cherry. Got quite a few tomatoes. You can see some rotted and fell off. Daisy's just coming up out of the pond now after taking a swim. And I am now here to the lower high tunnel. We have 2 high tunnels. This is the lower one. I'll soon head up to the upper one. Just like the field, we have drip going underneath here to water them. And so basically I'll just come right here and shut it off. Some of these weeds are getting a little bit out of hand. We've been picking off these tomatoes for months now. Still doing good. Obviously not producing like they once were, but you know, they've got a lot of little ones coming on, and with it being warmer in here, even in the cool nights, and putting water to them every day, we're still picking green and red. You can see underneath there's a real nice red one. I'm actually gonna pick it. I mean, that's about as nice as it gets right there. One thing about this time of year is that we are now in the fields picking like tens and tens of baskets of canning tomatoes, just table tomatoes that we put in quarts and sell by the piece. And so it's not as big of a deal that we're not getting as many out of here. But then again, once we get frost and the field tomatoes die off, we're really gonna rely on them again to get us through the end of the season. That's why they're such a big deal in the beginning as well, because again, we're picking them before we even have tomatoes in the ground almost. And then we pick them all the way through the entire season. So I think high tunnels are one of the greatest way to grow basically anything, because not only can you control the water, you can kind of control the temperature, but also the weather. If you get hail, bad winds, you can close them up and protect them. This is the upper one right here. That lower one has a big vent fan and just 2 doors on each end. This one has 2 doors on each end and roll up sides, but no big vent fan. Gotta walk through the greenhouses here to shut it off. This is where our hydrant comes up out of the ground. Right there. And I'll even shut this off and we're good to go. There's a lot of misconceptions about high tunnels. People assume, especially at the markets we go to, that when they're grown in a high tunnel, they don't have near the flavor, they're not as good. Basically, they tell us they don't even want them if they're not field grown. And the reality of it is, this is basically the same thing as a field tomato, just underneath greenhouse plastic. It's still planted in the ground. We still till the nutrients into the ground. We still lime it. We still do basically everything we do out in the field. In there, we can just control them and keep them longer. Still have the same exact flavor, still get to the same exact size, still everything. If I handed you a field tomato and a greenhouse grown tomato, you might be able to notice a difference because the high tunnel is prettier. But as far as our tomatoes go on our farm, in the field and or the greenhouse, they're the exact same. I'm heading out to dig potatoes. This is our late season cole crop patch. It's doing really well. We just need some rain. So that row was not the most fun, only because it was the outside row and it was very weedy. Had to stop like 3 or 4 times just to pull the weeds off because it was blocking up. But I actually think maybe because it was weedier and shaded in the hot, dry heat early on in the summer, that it kind of held the moisture because the potatoes seem like they're a little more plentiful and bigger. So I guess there's good and bad in everything. One of you guys asked in the comments how long do we leave them sit here before picking them up? Like, do they maybe turn green? And no, not at all. I would say within the next hour, at most 2 hours, myself or the guys or all of us will be down here picking these up, getting them in the shed, either washed for tomorrow market or put away in our storage. That way they can stay cool, dry, and be ready for whenever we need them in a nice dark place. That way, again, they don't turn green. Another question you guys asked in the comments was, why don't I ever show the entire harvest? And I definitely could. I just always try and keep it interesting. I try and show a little bit of what we do, like for the entire day. But if you guys do want to see more of the same thing being harvested, like from start to finish, the entire thing, picking, packing, washing, I could show that. It would just take up a lot more of my video and I wouldn't get to show all the other stuff that I do. And so instead of me having maybe 2 minutes of potatoes, seeing a little part of everything, it'd probably be around 5 to 10 minutes of, you know, the entire process. So it's up to you. Leave a comment down below. I'm always up to new things. I'll definitely do what you guys want me to do. That's what I'm gonna call it a wrap for this video. As always, thank you guys for watching. And always remember, it ain't much, but it's honest work.